All right, here we go. Welcome to the LA Soccer Hub Show. My name is Gio Garcia. Today is Tuesday, January 19th, and we're talking LA Galaxy. I know it's been kind of slow. There's been the rumors seem to die down a little bit with everything going on with LA Galaxy. They signed Jonthan Bond yesterday, and today they just announced the signing of Adam Saldaña from Galaxy 2, which is exciting time if you're him, and also if the Academy and Galaxy 2, everything seems to be working well within that system. And here to help me talk about it all, we got Alicia Rodriguez. Alicia, how you doing?
Doing pretty well, Gio. How you doing today?
Pretty good, pretty good. Welcome to 2021. I believe this is the first year, the first episode I've done with you on 2021. How's 2021 been treating you so far?
So far so good. Feels a lot like 2020, but hopefully things are looking up from here.
Yeah, it does. It does feel like 2020. I did see like this meme. I don't know if you saw it, but it was like I got the 7 day trial of 2021 or something like that. I want to return it or something, and that just made me laugh. I saw it on Instagram and I was just cracking. I was like, you know what? I think we all can kind of relate to that right now. Um,
Definitely.
but yeah, but with that, like I said, we got so much great news that happened this morning. Let's talk about Adam Saldana, midfielder, is coming from LA Galaxy 2, signed he initially signed his first contract with them in June, believe in 2019. So about a year and a half, and he's just made the jump. Now to be on the first team, what I think it's exciting. You've seen Julian Araujo come from there. You've seen Efrain Alvarez come from there. And I think that's what you want to see, that you have a well-oiled machine that you're producing to come up to the first team and come produce and play with you. What can you tell us about Adam Saldana?
Yeah, he's a midfielder. I watched him pretty much every game last season for Galaxy 2. Midfielder, pretty tidy in possession. I would say a kind of a two-way player. And obviously as a prospect, you never quite know how they're going to track as far as in the first team. Sometimes positions get moved around a bit, but he's definitely played to date as a midfielder. Um, I think his game's pretty quiet. When I was thinking about sort of the main uh, candidates for signing a first team contract, I didn't necessarily put him at the top of the list, but I also know that the Galaxy organization is really high on him. And I think that might be part of his game. He's one of those players who isn't making the flashy pass, isn't, scoring the golazos. He's somebody who's kind of just taking care of business. And obviously every team needs players like that. And particularly in midfield, that's a pretty valuable uh, role if you can find somebody good at it. So it's exciting. I think he's got a high ceiling. I expect he'll probably still play with Los Dos in 2021, assuming things get back to normal and we see players going back and forth between the first team and the USL side. But yeah, it's the first of what we anticipate will be a few homegrown signings for the Galaxy this week.
Yeah, no, like I said, it's exciting because it seems to be working. And Adam Saldana, he played with the U.S. men's U17 in 2019 and helped them go to the I think it was a World Cup, qualify for the World Cup. And you have players as like a Gio on the team, and everybody that was on the team there. Some of those players are playing in MLS. Some players are playing in Europe, and I think that U.S. men's U17 has a lot of talent, and we're seeing some of that talent right there. And just to add to that, he had 17 starts with Galaxy 2 last season. Obviously, he helped them go to the playoffs. I think they were knocked out on the first round, right?
They were knocked out in the first round by the top seed in the West, but I would say that Los Dos getting to the playoffs at all was a really big deal. I think so. The championship played in group stage for most of their season last year, and the kind of Southern California, Arizona group, Vegas group was by far the hardest. I think most outsiders really were tabbing LA to finish fourth or fifth in that division. Probably unfairly because they played really well last year. They were full value for the playoff berth for sure. But it was a murderer's row basically. So it's a huge deal that they even made the playoffs, in my opinion. And I think that that'll serve that team well. And I think there's a lot of exciting players on that team potentially moving forward.
Yeah, and yeah, just to add to that, I think when you have right when you're LA Galaxy and you can pull potential, you can pull. You know, you have LA Galaxy too. We've seen some MLS teams have that. You can pull and you can actually see them practice in your backyard and and the field next to you. I think that adds to so many things. And LA Galaxy right now they need midfielders. So I mean, to me, this makes sense. You want to add more midfielders, and this is someone that, like you said, that they seem to be high on. And I think you also see that the system was working. So LA Galaxy now have 12 players that have come up to the system. You know, some of those players, like I said, Efrain Alvarez, Joan Araujo, Nick DePuy, Cameron Dunbar, and the list goes on and on and on. And I think this is the way if you're a club, this is the way you want to build them up to come to the first team, have an impact on the first team. And eventually, if the goal is to sell them on or whatever, I think it's starting to flow the right way for the LA Galaxy.
Yeah, that's the hope. I mean, obviously, there's several steps, and you've outlined several of them in developing that pipeline properly. And we haven't really seen too much of uh, getting impact players at MLS level and then selling them on. You know, we're still kind of on the cusp of that spot. And I think Araujo is seems to be the candidate most likely to, maybe get transferred abroad on a big transfer fee at some point. Possibly Alvarez, but when we see some more of the players actually filtering in and playing real MLS minutes and playing impactful minutes uh, in the top division, I think that's going to be a big accomplishment. And then from there, having some of those key players being sold on, having some of the other players stick around for a long time in MLS, I think that's kind of the next part of the progression for the Galaxy organization. And obviously, there's been success stories over the years, but I think we all know that this area is so talent rich, and I think that there's still a feeling between all of the Galaxy Academy players who've signed abroad over the years, and the Galaxy really didn't get anything for them, and the players who've been signed but don't actually really make any kind of impact with the first team. There's a little bit of that bridge to finish building, and once they finish building it, I think then it's going to be really exciting.
So let me ask you just so I can be familiar. So when LA Galaxy have players in the academy, right? They're just in an academy. In order for them to make money off of them, do they have to play for the first team or play for Galaxy too? Because I know you said some player. I know some players have gone to the academy and then just go straight to Europe.
So typically, what happens is if a player kind of skips, signs abroad, but they don't merit a transfer fee, what happens is they wait until they turn 18. And when you turn 18, if you're not under contract, you can sign, you're a free agent. You can sign anywhere in the world as long as you can get a work permit and, all that kind of thing. So that's how most of these guys have done it over the years. There's been a few exceptions where guys manage to get a passport and leave early, but for the most part, it's either you get that passport and leave early, or you get and the Galaxy don't get anything out of it, or you wait until you turn 18 and then you can sign anywhere because you're a free agent. Um, so it's something that's not just a problem for the Galaxy. I mean, I think other American clubs have had to deal with this as well. I also think that there's been some changes that have been slowly implemented to try and combat this a little bit. Mostly, if a player does sign on a free agent deal now, the academy programs from which they're coming are supposed to get something called solidarity payments. So they'll get a lump sum. It's not going to be millions of dollars. It'll likely be thousands, maybe tens of thousands of dollars in most of these cases. But that is some money technically going to the academy to help them kind of reinvest. It's not sexy. It's not the same thing as signing Alfonso Davies, selling him on for 10 million like Vancouver Whitecaps did. But it's also a way to get something out of it, as opposed to just helping to produce a player and then be left holding the bag and not getting anything at the end of it. But I think one of the other things that the Galaxy have tried to do is by signing these youngsters at a younger age and pitching to them, you're actually going to be in our plans. We promise. Like, we promise we will do something to make it worth your while here. They're also trying to prevent situations where the player will wait out the clock until he turns 18 and then go sign abroad as a free agent. Like, they want to incentivize, hey, if you spend 2 years here with us in the Galaxy organization, we'll make sure you get some MLS minutes. We think that you have a really high ceiling, and we will help you, get to that next step in your career. We'll be the launch pad for what you want to do next. And we're seeing some more players actually find that to be compelling and sign with it. So we'll see what happens, but that's kind of where things lay right now.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you breaking that down so well, just for me and everybody listening, just to help educate us. Especially, I mean, the competition is getting more stiff, especially with the next door neighbors, right? The LA Galaxy have LAFC. I mean, they got an academy over there as well. What other players can you see come out through the LA Galaxy Academy for the? I mean, from Galaxy Two to Galaxy One, 2021.
So there's it's been pretty widely rumored that there's going to be two other signings who are going to be made shortly. Jalen Neal, he's a fullback, and I think he played a little bit of central defense last year, if I remember correctly, for Los Dos. I think he's a promising player. He was somebody who just broke through last year, but I liked what I saw of him. I think he's somebody who could potentially, do good things for them. And then the other one is Marcus Ferkranus, which I think he was a midfielder. He's actually the one of the group who I saw play the least. He usually came off the bench for Los Dos. He wasn't like a constant starter or anything like that. He from what I remember, he mostly came off the bench. I'll have to go back and look at the game logs, but so I didn't see as much of him. But I do know that they, every time he did come on the field, or when I have heard his name mentioned, I think Dennis Tuclosa has talked about him specifically a few times. So I think they're really pretty high on him. I don't really know much about his background, but maybe he has some promise abroad already, and that's why they're kind of moving things along a little bit more quickly, because they see some potential of him getting some interest in the future. But it seems pretty likely that those two are going to be the other two signings. There's also Jonathan Perez, who signed last year with the first team, and he played with LA Galaxy 2 last year. So he may get some more playing time this year. He basically didn't get any playing time for the first team last year. So he's like a new signing because we didn't really see him at MLS level. So he's another one to watch out for.
Yeah, no, I mean, it has to be exciting. I mean, if you're playing for the LA Galaxy 2, if you're on that roster and you see, you're seeing some of these guys move up, you gotta hope or expect that your time is next, and seeing the things that even Ethan Zubak that played for Galaxy 2, he got a lot of minutes, unexpected minutes, right? But he still got those minutes, and try to make try to take advantage of those opportunities. So I want to move on now. So I think this rumor is really interesting for me, for the LA Galaxy. As we know, the LA Galaxy have not signed Pavon just yet. They're still interested with Pavon, but there's still a lot of things going on, and I feel like LA Galaxy have a better position. I mean, in this deal, but the way Boca Juniors seems to be a little stingy, but with the interest, I mean, LA Galaxy are not just focused on Pavone. There's another player that's being rumored around is Sebastian Giovinco, um, which he played with Greg Vanney at Toronto FC. He won the 2017 MLS Cup with Greg Vanney. We had a great career with Toronto FC. Now I think he's in Saudi Arabia. I think he plays for Halal. I think is the team I looked up. But anyway, so it's interesting because they could use him as the DP. He could be used, he could be that third DP for the LA Galaxy, or they can bring him through a different creative way and not have to use a DP spot on him and still be able to bring in Cristian Pavon. And if you add Cristian Pavon and him, that'd be amazing, right? Let me ask you, what do you think about Sebastian Giovinco and the rumors and all that, and the likelihood this happens?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think it's plausible, but it's one of those where you wonder, is it just because the contextual links, right? Like, because he played for Vanney, he has some experience in MLS. So does that mean that somebody somewhere is writing a transfer rumor blog and has decided to kind of put those things together in the Mad Libs kind of thing? I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think Jovinko was absolutely phenomenal the first 2 years he was in MLS. I mean, he was really. It was must see TV to watch him play for Toronto in those years, and then from there after that, it wasn't like he got terrible, but he just wasn't at quite the, insane peak that he had been at his first 2 years, and he still was really, really productive and really good. And then his exit was a little bit curious. I mean, I think he just kind of wanted to get paid, and um, I remember talking to him at MLS Media Day like a week or two before his transfer to Saudi Arabia, and it was my only time I've talked to Jovinko, and I mean, he just seemed like he was really kind of angry and frustrated, like visibly frustrated. And it was sort of weird because at that time the rumors had started to emerge, and he wasn't saying, "Oh, I want to leave, I'm ready to go," but he was talking about how, I think I'm worth more, I deserve more, that kind of thing. And I mean, honestly, I think you could make a case even within the designated player mechanism that he was underpaid. I mean, relative to kind of what he brought to his team and to the league overall. So I can understand where he's coming from there. But yeah, so I don't know if he necessarily wants to come back to MLS exactly. And it could be a situation where the grass is always greener. Maybe he went somewhere else and he was like, you know what, it actually wasn't so bad in MLS after all. Or maybe he's done with it and maybe this is just kind of nonsense. I certainly think it's plausible just because I think when it comes to when it comes to transfer rumors in general, we have like the Galaxy, you have to most of the time sort of say it's possible, right? Like it
Yeah,
could
yeah, of
happen
course.
because they've made so many big moves in the past. And I don't think he'd be as expensive. Obviously, this time around, he's over 30 now, and I just I don't think he would command as much in terms of a transfer fee if they had to pay one or um, wages. Although he certainly wouldn't be cheap. We're not talking about somebody who's going to be on 200 grand or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, I'm intrigued. I think it's plausible. Do I think it's definitely going to happen? I don't know. I'm not really at that point yet, but kind of a wait and see one for me for sure.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because I mean we know Saudi Arabia has money, right?
Yeah.
So, and to your point, right? He's out there. Maybe like I've never watched Saudi Arabia soccer. I don't know much about it, but I know they got money and they got deep pockets, and you see a lot of players, not just from the MLS, but just from Spain, La Liga, and go play in those leagues. I think essentially for the money, but maybe to your point, he might have had a realization and been like, you know what? Playing in the MLS might have been a little bit better. I may not have gotten paid, but maybe the competition was there. Yeah, I don't know the way of life. I don't know. And maybe that's why those rumors are starting to come up. I mean, he does it, and it would make sense, right? Because he's playing with Greg Vanney. He'd be in Los Angeles. He wouldn't be in Toronto where it's cold. Yeah, the lifestyle would be a lot better, right? I mean, that I know that's all secondary to his play, but I think right? He's 33 years old, and also to your point, I don't wouldn't expect him to demand that much money, um, especially thinking like if the LA Galaxy, number one guy is Cristian Pavon, right? And if you're somehow the LA Galaxy, you're able to get both Cristian Pavon and Sebastian Giovinco, man, you're talking about an explosive offense, with Chicharito on top, and he could be the player that helps facilitate Chicharito and passes and just help him there, be that assist man or the extra help up top because that's what Chicharito needed last season. And we know that Chicharito can't do everything himself. He's not a lone striker. He needs some assistance. So I could see this. I just wonder how if it happens, how it's gonna happen. Because I do you want him? Do you want to use that money on? Would you want to use that third DP on Giovinco right now? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, I think you also got to see what else is out there. But I think if they found out another creative way of maybe not using that DP spot on him, maybe use the TAM or whatever Galaxy get creative. It would be exciting. I think it would be exciting, because like I said, you have a coach that's already played with them. You know what to expect with them, even though his last two seasons weren't, as amazing like you said the first couple seasons he had with Toronto FC. I think it will make a lot of sense. So right now there's just rumors, there's a lot of speculation. So we'll see what happens with that. I think we're all going to keep our eyes pinned to that. Now we'll talk about Cristian Pavone. right? There's a lot of stuff going on. Christian Pavon, he was accused of sexual assault, sexual abuse. And I think recently, well, he came out and denied all those things. He came out with a statement, very strong statement on his Instagram, and then just recently, I saw he posted a picture with him and his girlfriend. Um, what do you make of this whole situation with Christian Pavon?
Yeah, I'll admit from the outside, I haven't been looking at the blow by blow or going through all the different permutations of allegations and counters and whatnot. But I mean, certainly it's concerning. At the very least, something that I think if the Galaxy are serious about bringing him back, they need to look into and not just in a way to cover their behinds, but to really look into and see if it's something that has merit or not. Because I think one thing that was pretty positive about last year was the team moving pretty quickly when they had pretty big scandals on their hands, and they parted ways with Alexander Katai, who they uh, thought were going to solve the problems and in one spot of their field, but he pretty much was roundly rejected by the fans after his wife's racist social media post came out, and the team decided to cut him loose. And then there was a player on Galaxy 2 who used a racist slur on the field, and he also was cut uh, within days of that happening. So I think if it was a situation where it really seemed to have uh, something behind it, in the case of Pavone, and the team sort of said, well, but he's such a good player, like, oh, we can rationalize this away. I mean, I don't think they can. I think that would be a huge step backwards. I guess if they find that there's no real standing here, that's a different story. But it's always very difficult and delicate, and in situations like this where a prominent athlete is accused of something like sexual assault, it makes it difficult to talk about the player and their performance, because that becomes immaterial, right, to uh, the allegations. But yeah, I mean, I don't have all the answers, so it's hard for me to sort of weigh in and make a declaration one way or the other on what happened here. But um, it's a tricky situation, and all I hope is that the Galaxy, whatever happens, they make the right decision.
Yeah, it is a very tricky situation, right? I mean, on one hand, someone's accusing, the other hand, he's saying it's not true, right? Obviously, I don't know what happened or anything, but you just hope for the best. And like I've said this before, the Galaxy, the higher up to LA Galaxy, know Pavone, know what he's about, know, have a better relationship than I would ever have with Pavone, right? So I'm assuming they may have reached out and, to his lawyer, to whatever, and talked to them, brought this whole situation up. I don't know. I'm just speculating, right? I think that's what you do, just to check on to see what's going on. Maybe they would have had some conversations, because as of now, that Galaxy have not said, they've stopped or paused negotiations, or the pursuit of getting him, right? So it makes me think, one, they've taken their time with it. They want to see everything before they come out. And to your point, we've seen the LA Galaxy has a history of cutting players because of certain things. So to me, I think they are they have that in mind, but they also want to see everything come out, because all those other things were true. You saw it, of Katai's wife, you actually saw it. Everybody could see it. The player for Galaxy 2, you saw, it was proven. I think, right, why it's so tricky, because it hasn't been proven, I guess, but I don't want to say it's not true. I
Right.
think that's where the trickiness gets, um, for the team and for the player and for the other Galaxy. And I think it just goes on to how comfortable they are. They seem they're very comfortable to, be behind Pavone as a rent. That's how I take it. I'm not saying that's what LA Galaxy are saying. I think they're just seeing the situation. They might have spoken with them, and they feel comfortable to still try to pursue him. Now, if things come out and, for example, it turns out that he is actually, he did commit these things, then I think you will see the LA Galaxy step away. Um, but another thing to this, Pavone has mentioned had mentioned to Boca Juniors head coach that he no longer wants to play for them. So I mean that even tells me even more like he wants to go, if not to the LA Galaxy, he doesn't want to play for them. So I think this starts to give the Galaxy more leverage, and I feel like if you're Boca Juniors, right, you have a player one that doesn't want to play for you. You can't even, I feel like you can't even shop him out because he's not in the field. You're playing all these big games and you have all this worldwide attention, but I don't feel like you can shop him out to all these other teams in Europe or whatever if you're trying to get what 15 to 20 million dollars. And I think it may bring down his value a little lower. And I think this is where the LA Galaxy, this situation, but Pavon not paying for them, in a way benefits the LA Galaxy. Do you view it that way?
Maybe. I mean, I think if Boca suddenly sold him at a really cut rate, then I think the allegations, there may be something that they may think that there's something to it, like if they're like all of a sudden they're like, yeah, 4 million, yeah, sure, no, yeah, we got it, we'll get this done, like done deal, sure, go ahead, no, 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 it's all good, we're good with that, if that were to happen, I'd be like, okay, that's a red flag right there, that they're trying to get rid of him really quickly. I will also say that in the past, when there's been a similar situation regarding a potential designated player, the league, MLS, has investigated the matter themselves. I think in part because they want to avoid some sort of major scandal with a player who's presumably going to be one of the faces of the league. They don't want to have egg on their face. But yeah, I mean, I think it's probably good for Pavone to move on to a new situation. I also think that Boca has a long history of taking forever to get transfers done. So, um, they're not, they don't mind waiting, right? They don't
Hmm.
mind just sitting on a player. And I mean, I'm talking like months, years even. They really doesn't bother them at
Yeah, they're
all.
pretty stingy about the way they negotiate, which is, I feel, that would to me just would annoy me. But if you really want a player, and I think that what it gets tricky is when a player verbally comes out and all the media, even Argentina, they're like, "Yo, this guy does not want to play for you."
Yeah, and like every situation I can think of in MLS where they've gotten a player from Boca on a transfer, they like the GM has always been like, "Wow, that was the longest transfer I've ever been part of. It was really a huge pain, but I think this player is worth it, and the hard work, etc." So I mean, they really they're not exactly a great partner, I would say, as far as transfers, but that's I guess part of the business. You can choose to do different strategies and in transfer negotiations, and they take a very hard line. But yeah, I mean, if he says he doesn't want to go, it could drop his value a little bit. But yeah, I don't know if I expect even. I mean, we don't know when the season's going to start, but I don't know if I necessarily expect that Pavone will have a situation wrapped up either with the Galaxy or anywhere else by the time the MLS season starts necessarily. I mean, again, I think they could just wait it out and let him sit and collect his paycheck or whatever until they feel like they have a good spot and they're ready to sell. But yeah, it's going to drag on, I think, probably.
Yeah, and I'm with you, and I think also the uncertainty of when the MLS season starts. I mean, that's a whole nother issue there in itself, right? So the uncertainty of the season may be pushed back. I believe the season started like what was it at the end of February, March 1st last season. So, and I remember around this time, both LA teams were having preseason, and I think I was actually at a preseason. I mean, a practice around in January, if I recall. But that has even happened. So they don't even know when the season starts. So if the season does drag on, or I should say delayed, we'll see. Well, I guess we'll have to see what happens with Pavone. He may miss if they do get him. He may miss a little bit. He may not even miss anything at all. He may just start right in time, right? Because there's so many things going on. But another thing that I saw that the Galaxy did this past weekend, they signed Jonthan Bond from West Brom. From it looks to me he's gonna either be the number one or he's definitely gonna fight for that number one position with Jonathan Klinsmann. The good thing about this, he doesn't use an international spot because he has a U.S. passport. So I think that's a benefit too. I don't they didn't have to pay too much to bring him over here, and he also bring in some competition with Jonathan Klinsmann. What do you think about this signing for the LA Galaxy?
Yeah, it's really intriguing. He really hasn't played a ton in his career. He's 27. He's gone on several loan stints, but he's really only had one season where he's had a really good run of games, and that was with Peterborough United a few years ago, and I think they were in League One, which is the third division in England. So comparing that to MLS level, I mean, I don't know, like seems a little bit risky, but also he was on the roster of a Premier League team. So, you have to think he's pretty good if he could, be on the roster of on one of the best leagues in the world. But it's mostly an unknown quantity. And actually, in a lot of ways, it reminds me of the Jonathan Klinsmann signing because Jonathan Klinsmann had barely played. I mean, Jonthan Bond has played more in his career. He's older. He's 27. I think Klinsmann's 23. But Jonathan Klinsmann had barely played first team games before he joined the Galaxy. So, besides what we had seen with the U.S. Youth national teams, it was sort of like, well, we'll see how it goes. Like, I don't really have anything to kind of base any opinions on at this point. I think it's pretty similar for Bond. I'll totally admit I have never seen Bond play, so I don't know how he's going to perform. But I also I think he's a pretty unknown quantity based on his track record so far. So it could be one of those situations where he turns out to be great and really be a good fit for this team and at this level. But we won't know until we see whoever the starter is hit the field and actually get some game time and kind of go from there.
Yeah, you're right. I've seen the highlights. Highlights are supposed to make you look good, right? And I did see some people on Twitter. I think he played a cup for them. I think some Galaxy fan had asked him when he came up and he played and he did a good job for them. I think he was the third string goalkeeper. Um, so I guess we're just gonna have to wait, right, until you see that competition until we actually see him. But I think it's good for the Galaxy to bring in a keeper, and I know a lot of people. I think what this means for David Bingham is not coming back for the LA Galaxy. I know they're talking about there was negotiations there. I know a lot of fans were happy that David Bingham is not coming back. I know some were upset, but I think it was time to move on from David Bingham. I think the Galaxy had enough seasons. It just didn't work out. I think you just have to wish the best for David Bingham, in his career, wherever he decides, wherever he ends up. But I think, with the new head coach, I think this is a fresh, you got to start somewhere fresh. And this is a great way to start. And I just got an email from the LA Galaxy. I just want to, little breaking news here. The LA Galaxy have said Julian Araujo has been added to the U23 roster. FC Dallas defender Brian Reynolds will be departing for personal reasons. So initially, Julian Araujo was on the roster. Then he left because, or I don't even think he joined him because I think he was sick. I don't know if he had COVID, but he was sick. So now it's cool that it's great that he's able to be back. He's recovering. He's able to go and play with the U23 or be with the U23s because that's what you want, right? If you're the Galaxy, you want as many players as you can get on the U.S. men's national team. Sebastian Giovinco is out there, and now Julian Araujo, and we're seeing a lot of noise, a lot of rumors, speculation. There was some rumors that he was going to Tottenham. Those weren't true. Galaxy denied all those. What do you make of a player like Julian Araujo?
I mean, I think he has a really high ceiling. He's somebody I'm pretty excited about. I'm glad he's getting back into the U23, the national team for the camp. But I think that's great news. And by the way, Brian Reynolds is leaving presumably because he's being transferred to Bayern Munich. So that's a pretty big deal for him too.
Yeah.
Hopefully, Julian will be going on a similar path in the not too distant future. But I mean, for me right now, I think he's clearly the young player who has the highest upside and is the most likely to get a big move abroad right now. I know that Efrain Alvarez has gotten most of the hype. because he's a little bit younger and he plays in an attacking position and has played really well in spurts, so far in his career. But I think Araujo's much more consistent so far. And right now, I think he's got a much higher upside as far as, kind of projecting where he's going to be in his career. So that's exciting. And yeah, like you said, you want to get him on the national team, not only because they get to play for their country and all that kind of thing, but also so they can be in the shop window for teams abroad and to help them in eventually acquiring a work permit if they need to get one. So
Yeah, and I think he's gonna be. I would assume. I mean, there's right now. I think Jonah Araujo making the first team on the men's national team. That's maybe a stretch, but I think U23s and the Olympics and everything. I think he will be have a really, really good opportunity to be the starter at right back for the U23s. And that's one thing the US men's national team they have depth at is right back. So I mean, unless he has a spectacular season, anything can happen within what the next year, 2022 is a World Cup, I believe. Anything can happen, right? He can make a big leap. He can get transferred to a big club in Europe somewhere. And then all of a sudden, Joe Araujo is either starting for the men's national team or coming off the bench, whatever. But, you know, I think this is going to help him in his career. This is going to, prolong. And also, I think, being with Greg Berhalter, you know, the game when you play with the national team, the game's a little bit quicker, a little bit faster. And I think he does have to be able to clean up some of the things that, he didn't do so good. He was overly aggressive. I like his aggressiveness, but I think getting red cards and stuff like that doesn't help him. And I think that just all comes with maturity. But nevertheless, I like his upside. I think if it's not in the summer transfer window, I really do see. I don't know if we'll see Joel Araujo after this season with the LA Galaxy, which is a good thing. Which I feel like is,
right.
is 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 a really really good thing. If he moves abroad over. I wanted to Greg Vanney. So Greg Vanney obviously was announced these last couple of weeks. I was impressed with this press call. I was very motivated. I think I actually went for a run, because it's the way he spoke. I was just like, I got to do something with all this energy. I can't just sit here. And I've been told like he's moving from Toronto. He's currently in the process of moving from Toronto to LA. That man, moving from countries during COVID, I mean, that has to be hectic. So, we wish the best for him, safe and, fast travels back and forth and, moving. I don't even know how you do that. Either you sell your stuff over there. I lived in Baltimore for a couple of years before ended up moving back. And all I took was 2 suitcases. And then everything that I bought had like a nice couch, a big screen TV, and I just sold it. But that was just me. But if you have a family in a house, I think it gets a little tricky. But what are your initial thoughts of Greg Vanney at the helm?
I think it's a fantastic hire. I think when you're looking at the vacancies around the league and you're looking at the coaches who are available, within the kind of um, realm of what's possible, right? Like Pochettino was around for a while, but I don't think any of us thought he was going to come to MLS. But within the group of MLS plausible managers, I think Vanney was by far the best among that crop. Um, he has a track record of success. He brought Toronto to their best ever showing, but it wasn't a situation where like he just jumped in as a team was a juggernaut, right? Like Toronto was really, really incredibly bad when he took over as head coach. And I think people who are newer to the league or people who just kind of forgot about what happened before he was coach there. I mean, Toronto was like in the dregs. Like they were really adrift, and every year it was like a complete joke. And they were constantly turning over their roster, and they had no idea what they were doing. And it wasn't just Greg Vanney alone who orchestrated the turnaround, but I think he played a huge part of that, and deserves a lot of credit. And he's also somebody who has that track record of turning a team around, right? It's not just, oh, I can win trophies. It's I can execute a plan to make a team relevant and a perpetual contender again, which is exactly what the Galaxy needs. So that fits. And then obviously his background, being a former Galaxy player, playing college soccer at UCLA. He has some real ties to this area, so that is a nice story. But I also think that his coaching is going to be a huge improvement. It's easy to say now that Guillermo Barros Schelotto is not the manager, but I really think there were some major deficiencies in terms of tactics and game plans under him. And so, as much as we look at the roster and say, "Wow, there's not been a lot of changes so far to the Galaxy roster," I think you can make a credible case that this squad will improve a good amount just by changing coaches and having a coach who
Agreed.
can make some changes and is tactically flexible. That's one of the things about Vanney that I really like is he found a lot of success and he was tactically flexible. He's a guy that he would change his lineup and his formation game to game depending on his opponent. When he got into the playoffs, there were times when he would basically institute a new look. Like, he'd go to like three in the back in a playoff game, which practically no manager does, right? Like who we're used to systems where like a Bob Bradley, right? Like his system is fixed, right? Like it is never changing. Vanney is very much the opposite, right? Like he wants to throw an opponent off their guard. So if they're used to his team playing in a diamond midfield, well, guess what? We're going to play a flat midfield this next game against you to throw you off and to try and disrupt you and that kind of thing. While also playing front foot soccer, right? Like he's able to change things around, but it's not like a park the bus situation where he's completely reactive. He's able to react and take the initiative in the game at the same time. So for all those reasons, I am super excited about the appointment, and I think we're going to see improvement just from him having plans and kind of carrying out some coherent plans and things that if it's not working, we know he's going to change, right? Like he's not going to be somebody who's going to stick to something come hell or high water. He will make adjustments, and I think that that's very promising for this Galaxy squad that still has some pretty big holes in it.
Yeah, no, and I'm with you, and I'm glad you brought up all those points that it seems to be he's flexible and he's not stuck in one way of playing because I feel like sometimes when you are stuck in one way of playing, you get overexposed, and if a team already has beat you, they know what the only thing you're gonna do if you're not willing or give a different look or bring a different player, then there's going to be holes there. But from what you're saying, in the way he's coaching or he's going to coach or he has coached, right? Those are things that LA Galaxy need, and especially with the roster. And I'm with you. It's no secret, Guillermo, at this point that we all look at it now. He did lack tactically, but at the same time, he came from a great. He had a great resume where he came from. So I don't know what happened. I know with MLS, you have to do a lot with a lot less, right? You don't have you don't have the same type of talent you do as you did in Boca or whatever around the world. You got to be very creative and be able to adjust to certain things to, be able to play to what the type of players you have. And I feel like maybe Guillermo wasn't able to play to their players' best strengths. Like for example, Chicharito, he was the lone striker, and you don't play Chicharito as a lone striker, and you clearly saw that. You need to help him out there. Um, and from his press conference and from him in interviews, you get a sense that he understands what he needs to do and what he's gonna do. And I think he's a lot of players like or like Araujo are gonna benefit from that. Even Efrain Alvarez. Everybody has to hope it's Chicharito. He's the number one guy that has to improve from all this, and it looks on Instagram, right? And I know I spoke with a couple people last week about Chicharito, but he looks to be in a better mental state, right? There's a lot of personal things going on in his life. He looks a lot slimmer. It looks like he's lost a lot of weight, just from his post on Instagram. He looks like he's in shape. He looks like he's ready to go. And I think that's what you want if you're LA Galaxy. I think that's what you want if you're Greg Vanney, because now if you have a Chicharito that's, right, physically fit, he's in a great mental state, all you got to just put the piece to the puzzle. And I think, Greg Vanney's that person that's going to be able to do that. And like and you said, there hasn't been too many changes, right? Well, I think it was just Villafania and Jonathan Bond so far, right? And so I think you're still going to start to end today. Adam Saldaña, that's a piece, maybe a substitute off the bench. But I'm very interested to see what he does with these players, with the like the Julian Araujo's and also the back line, with what he does with Daniel Stairs, and Gonzalez, there's a lot of things that's going to be worked on. And also the goalkeeper, and I think we're really going to be able to see how great of a coach Greg Vanney really is. Um, I know we saw Chicharito. He tweet, well, I think he posted on his Instagram that someone had asked him what is his goals for 2021, and he put the championship. He wants to win the MLS Cup. What do you think about that?
Well, he's saying the right things, right? Like, I mean, nobody's going to be mad if the star player is saying, "Oh, my main goal is to win a championship." So it's kind of, I mean, it's been interesting because I think it's good that he's getting out there on social media since he went pretty quiet for most of 2020. Um, but also, it's clearly a strategy to try and endear themselves to the fans, and I don't think it's a bad one. But I mean, clearly, it's part of a plan to get out there, literally, and kind of show people that he's engaged and um, has a chip on his shoulder, wants to perform, all that kind of thing. But no, I mean it's good. I think if he's really hungry and he's really got a chip on his shoulder, that could be really good for the Galaxy if he finds a vein of form and he starts scoring at a pretty good clip, then that's going to be pretty useful. And obviously, depending on if Pavone comes back or if they get another kind of key DP, attacking DP, you know, I mean, he may have to carry a big load, with the lineup in terms of the attack. So, it may be a challenge, especially at first in the season, depending on when it starts, for Chicharito to actually like be in form and to help them get wins early on. But it's not bad to to be showing selfies of your hikes and saying you want to be going for titles and all that kind of thing. That's all good stuff.
Yeah, that's definitely not bad, and I think some people there's still a lot of pessimism, with Chicharito. I think one way he does that just puts the ball in the back of the net whenever the season starts, and you start to win fans over. Because I think Galaxy fans know their history. They know. I think one way, to start winning him over. I like everything he's doing. I like, he's posting that he's getting back in shape. He's going live on Instagram. He's being, people can interact with him as a human level, right? And that's what you want, and it's great for the team. I think now just the next step is, once they get on the field, get a couple goals in, and I think one of the first things that has to happen is they got to win a game. I don't feel like this has to happen, but I feel like it should happen. They have to win a game because of Chicharito. Like
Mhm.
somehow, either it was a pass from him, or he scored a goal or whatever. Some way, somehow, he stole the ball. He got involved in that play, and because of whatever he did in that play, they won because of him. And I think that will change the perspective of him for some fans, moving forward, and it's a big hill to climb to say you want to win an MLS Cup, but I think you have to have some of that optimism, going into the season, especially after the type of season he had last year. But yeah, I think that's all the time we have. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Alicia?
No, I think we did almost a solid hour of wall to wall Galaxy talk. So I think that's pretty good. But that's kind of where we're at right now with the
Yeah.
the state of the team,
We
right?
filled an hour with not even a game going on. And I was thinking it was like, you know what, maybe 45 minutes, but you have a lot of great knowledge. You break things down so well, and which I love to have you on the podcast. I know everybody listening does. So with that said, let the people know where they can follow you.
Sure, you can find my work in the Galaxy at lagconfidential.com, and you can find me on Twitter at Soccer Musings.
Yeah, guys, if you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure to give this a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. You can also listen to this podcast on Spotify or wherever you get your music. You can follow me on Twitter at Gio Garcia LA, and make sure to follow us on Instagram at LA Soccer Hub and also on Facebook. For Alicia, this is Gio. We'll catch you guys next time. Bye, everybody.